Hello, how are you doing? I hope you're having an amazing day and welcome back to another video. Just a year ago, Insta360 released this action camera that still has a lot of great features, and besides being able to record in 8K, many people felt that this was a new king in low light performance compared to other action cameras that we had at that time. But we all had this feeling that there was room for improvement on things that could have been better, and it seems that Insta360 has been listening to their customers, maybe not to every single feedback, but they've been trying to improve things around. So they're now releasing the new Insta360 ACE Pro 2. This time, they're focusing on just having one version instead of two, and Insta360 seems to be very confident that this is the best choice when it comes to action cameras. So it's time to look at the facts without the hype that most likely is going to happen in the next few days. The sensor on the Insta360 ACE Pro 2 has the same size as the one that we have on the ACE Pro. And I know that it would be fantastic to have a bigger one, but this new camera now has two internal AI chips. One that has been upgraded from the last version and a new dedicated Pro chip for image processing and noise reduction. Having two chips instead of one means more computing power and better performance when it comes to image quality. But stick around because I am going to test if this has an impact in the battery life or if it makes the camera overheat later in this video. The ACE Pro 2 has a Leica lens once again, and it seems that this time around they improved the minimum focus distance, which is something that many users were not so happy about with the previous generation. I did test this and it seems that the minimum focus distance is around 40 centimeters instead of 60, which is going to be great for vlogging videos. And now the lens guard can be removed if you need to replace it. We still have a maximum resolution of 8K, and this time around it is possible to record using 24 or 30 frames per second. Side by side against 4K, you might not be able to tell a difference, but after zooming in, you can tell that there are more details on the videos shot using 8K, and it seems like there is less noise as well. I know that this high resolution is not something that most of us are going to need for social media, for example, but it has some benefits that are inside a 4K resolution. For example, when you zoom in using any action camera, it crops the video down and what you get is a lower resolution image. When I zoom in, the camera is able to keep a lot of details, and like I said, this is because of the 8K quad layer sensor that we have in this camera. Insta360 calls this clarity zoom, and I think it's easy to understand why. Using 4K, this camera can record up to 120 frames per second, and I do believe that the video quality looks really good. Not only because of the internal chips and the Leica lens, but this camera can record in H.265 and it has been able to keep a consistent bitrate over 100 megabits per second when recording in 4K and over 100 megabits per second recording in 8K. The higher frame rates are going to be great for slow motion, and if you want super slow motion, this camera can record at 240 frames per second, but for this, you have to use a resolution of 1080p where the video quality is going to be much lower with less details, and I honestly never use this frame rate in action cameras. The new generation sensor supports up to 13.5 stops of dynamic range, and this means that we're getting more details in the highlights and shadows. And the new ACE Pro 2 does have an HDR function that can be set to on or off, and this has been improved to work not only at 24 or 30 frames per second, but now it also works at 60 frames per second. I know that some of you are not going to be happy when I tell you that this camera still doesn't have 10-bit color, but straight out of the camera, the videos are really good and the colors are well balanced without having to do too much editing. You can now use a flat color profile to record your videos and color grade them in post. And for those of you who want to take pictures with this camera, you're not going to be disappointed. The ACE Pro 2 has a maximum resolution of 50 megapixels and it looks like the quad layer sensor is doing a very good job. I don't want to forget to mention that Insta360 added this shutter button on the screen. It works just like on your smartphone and I do appreciate how easy it is to use. Very good, Insta360. Other companies should be taking notes from you. You can record videos using free frame mode, and this will let you use the sensor at 4:3, and then using the Insta360 app, you can reframe this to the aspect ratio that you want and apply stabilization and horizon lock. Just bear in mind that in this mode, the maximum resolution that you can use is 4K at 60 frames per second. Just like on the previous generation, the new ACE Pro 2 has a video mode called Pure Video, which you can use in low light situations, and this will lift the shadows to bring up more details. It will enhance the brightness of your video and apply a denoiser at the same time. The size of the sensor will still be a limitation for low light, so don't expect to have perfect results. But this is a big feature when you compare videos shot with other action cameras that were just released in the market. And the new GoPro 13 still doesn't have a night mode, so the only option is to increase the ISO to the maximum. And honestly, I really feel bad showing these kind of videos because I have nothing against GoPro, but yeah. The Insta360 ACE Pro 2 has an electronic stabilization system that will make your video super stable, and it does a fantastic job. It also has a horizon locking system that will keep the horizon straight when you tilt the camera to the left or the right. It does support 45 or 360 degrees, and they can be used in 4K at 24 or 30 frames per second. But it doesn't support higher frame rates, and it doesn't work if you want to record using 8K, and there is a difference between one and the other. The video using 45 degrees will have less crop than using 360 degrees. So in most situations, using 45 is going to be better, but it's going to depend on how you're going to use it and what you want to achieve. There is a common problem that happens with most action cameras that have an electronic stabilization. In low light situations, your videos will have some motion blur that looks like a vibration glitch effect. The Pure Video mode on this camera does a good job minimizing this effect. And in some cases where other cameras have trouble doing so, on the ACE Pro 2, it almost looks like it's completely gone. I know that increasing the shutter speed can help to reduce this effect, but the problem is that the video is going to be darker, and like I said before, the size of the sensor on all these new action cameras is not big enough to get great results. So the ACE Pro 2 is looking really good, but being honest, is not always perfect. So when you have more intense movements, you're going to see that motion blur effect, but I still think that it is a very low amount when you compare it with other action cameras. The design and form factor of the new ACE Pro 2 is very similar to the older version, and now it is waterproof down to 12 meters. It has the same magnetic quick release system at the bottom of the camera, so you can use this mount that comes inside the box to attach the camera with different accessories. The locking system makes the camera feel secure, but I have to confess that I don't use this one, and I prefer to use this other one where now I have the option to use the GoPro style fingers, or I can use a 1/4-inch thread hole with a tripod if I want to. The Insta360 ACE Pro 2 has a front-facing display, but this will only show you some basic information. So most of the time I do have it off just to save a little bit of battery. But in the back, the size of the color display has been slightly increased. Of course, it is touch enabled and it can be flipped all the way around, which is very useful for vlogging videos or to frame yourself and change the settings if you need to. But being able to flip this using different angles can also help to improve your filmmaking experience in some cases. But at the same time, I do have to agree that in some situations, it is not ideal to use it because there is a potential risk of breaking it. The ACE Pro 2 is also packed with many features that are very useful. We can control the camera using voice commands and also using gesture controls to start or stop recording. And this feels amazing to say the least when you're trying to create videos by yourself. The pause record option is going to let you start recording, and instead of stopping it, you can pause the video and then keep recording when you want to continue. this will let you record into a single video file instead of having a bunch of videos, saving you a lot of editing time. But the beauty of this is that this option also works if you go back to any video that you have taken in the past days, weeks, or even months, and keep recording into that file as many times as you want. I also like that you can delete the video that you're recording by holding the record button for a few seconds. This avoids having multiple videos that you don't want because something was not good about it. Another quality of life improvement is when you're recording, you will see this shutter button, and this will allow you to take a picture when you are taking a video. And inside the camera, you can use an AI assistant that will help you in selecting the best parts of a video clip. I still prefer to do it myself or use the Insta360 app, which has many features that are very easy to use. You can edit your videos or apply different creative effects to them depending on what you like. This is not a secret, but my favorite one is the AI warp effect. It has a few presets, but you can also use your own keywords to get an AI generated effect. I think that it's just fun to use it, and yeah, that's all. The batteries now have a higher capacity, but you can still use the ones from the original ACE Pro. There has been a small improvement in battery life. I was able to record for 2 hours and 5 minutes using 4K at 24 frames per second. And at 4K and 60 frames per second, the battery died at 1 hour and 25 minutes. There is a new battery saver mode that will let you record for a longer time. It only works using regular video mode using 1080p or 4K with a maximum frame rate of 30 frames per second, and using 4K, it gave me around 36 minutes of additional record time. So that would be 2 hours and 40 minutes, but the battery is replaceable, and I feel that it makes sense to buy extra ones if you feel that this is not enough time. Something cool that you can now do with the ACE Pro 2 is that you can use it as a power bank to charge your phone or other devices using a USB-C cable. This is not something that I would recommend to do, but it's good to have in case you really need it. And the last thing about the batteries is that they are backwards compatible with the ones on the first ACE Pro. I always like to test these devices to find out if they overheat. This is the same test that I do for every camera where there is no movement, no airflow, and no air conditioning. The ACE Pro 2 using 4K at 24 and 60 frames per second did not overheat, although at 60 it was getting a bit too warm. The big surprise for me was testing this camera using 8K at 24 frames per second. I was so sure that it would overheat in half an hour, but the battery died first without overheating at 1 hour and 10 minutes. Below the camera lens, Insta360 designed this wind guard that covers the internal microphone. The design is very simple, and yet it looks really cool. But the best part is that it really does an amazing job reducing the wind noise. Whoever thought of this simple idea at Insta360 should get a big bonus payment, for real. Let's take a look at these videos. I really wanted to test the Insta360 ACE Pro 2 new system, which is a wind guard. I'll show you. Really wanted to test the Insta360 ACE Pro 2 new system, which is a wind guard. Just so you know, this wind guard can be removed and should be replaced with this mic cam if you want to use this camera underwater. Just making sure I'm in the frame. So now I'm using voice enhancement instead of wind reduction. The ACE Pro 2 also supports wireless microphones. I did test it out with the DJI Mic 2, and I felt really good about how fast and easy it was to set up both devices. But now instead of using the internal microphone, I'm using the DJI Mic 2. The process to connect was really easy. Just a few seconds, to be honest. And for those who don't know about this, you don't need to spend a lot of money on this microphone. You can buy the transmitter by itself, and that's all you're going to need to make it work with this camera and make it a perfect combo. There are many things that I like about this new camera. The video quality is great and videos in low light situations are really good compared to other action cameras. If you have the first ACE Pro, you might not need to upgrade to the new one, but if you're looking for a new camera, this one is a solid choice. I am hoping to have time in the next weeks to compare these to other popular cameras, so don't forget to subscribe if you want to see which one is the best option. The link to this camera is going to be down below, and giving this video a like is always appreciated. I hope you're having an amazing day and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye.